Hey guys, welcome to part 3 of the How We Met series. And this one's actually going to be pretty long, so stick around because we're going to cover
Grab
a
your
lot
popcorn.
of cool stuff.
Grab your cokes.
Yeah, grab your popcorn, grab your cokes, sit back, relax, and listen to the entertaining stuff that is an American living in the UK.
Yeah.
And it covers basically from 2006 and the end of 2006 because we already got there. We're going to talk about the birth of our first child, all the way through 2007, 8, 9, and 10.
Wow.
So there's a lot to cover in this one.
That's like 4 years.
That's like 4 years, man. And so, I guess a good place to start, really quick, before we get into the birth of our first, is if you're new around here, subscribe and drop a like on the video, dislike if you didn't like the video, and a comment as to why you didn't like it, or a comment as to why you liked it, or any questions. Yeah.
I like questions.
You like questions?
I like
Okay,
questions.
I've got a question for you.
What's that?
Okay. As a American coming to live in the UK,
Mm-hmm.
what was your biggest challenge moving over there? Like, in terms of, was it a cultural thing, like having to get used to the cars on different side of the streets? Or was
Yeah,
it like,
that was a big one, and I never got used to that.
was it like a
Ever.
what about language, like different?
Okay, so even though they do speak English, it's like a very...
Hey, we invented English. Where do you think the term comes from? English. England.
like, I don't know, just okay, chips are not chips, they're fries. You know, and biscuits are not biscuits, they're cookies.
I love the biscuit story. When I came, just reversing it real quick, when I came first over to the States, and you offered me a biscuit, and I had absolutely no idea.
It was breakfast time. It was like, hey, you want a biscuit? I think I said sausage biscuit. And you're like,
Yeah.
ew, gross.
Like, sausage biscuit, you think like biscuit over there, I've always been used to cookies. You know, like a chocolate chip cookie or something. I'm like,
They call those biscuits.
the heck? You take a cookie
So
and,
instead of
like,
chocolate filling, you put sausage in the middle of your cookie.
I honestly, that threw me.
Yeah, well, it was the other way around. When you said you wanted a chocolate biscuit, I'm like, well, no.
When I offered you fish and chips or something like that.
I was like thinking, fish and some ruffles? Fish and some what? And chips? So it was a lot of different words I had to get used to. The accent was kind of scary in some parts of the country. So I had to get used to that.
But that's no
Driving,
different to here, though. Like,
yeah, that's true.
it's just that's a cultural thing. What about food? Did you find anything different about the food or anything like that?
I don't. The food was okay. I really miss my Mexican food. I must have been in the wrong part of the country, but there was like not a lot of Mexican food to be found, and
No, it was all Chinese and Thai food.
it was
wasn't
good
it?
though. And they didn't know what iced tea was.
Oh yeah, we will cover that little portion when we get to our anniversary and our limousine trip.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, that's. What about spelling, real quick? Did you
Oh, yes.
struggle with that?
Like color over there is COLOUR.
Yeah. All
Favor was OUR.
and switching the S's for
Center.
Z's.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
yeah,
center was
census.
RE or something like that.
Center is RE.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
And that messed up.
And so when I was like writing a bunch of things, applications and stuff, I'm like, do I spell it the English way or the American way? I don't know. I'll put both.
Yeah, so that was interesting. And what was really funny about all that is we had great fun with it together. Like, we would pick on each other and
And we still do. And that's
We
the
do,
whole fun of
yeah.
it. Like, I'll be like, say sauce. And you'll be like, oh.
remember ball and bowl?
They all sounded the same
Ball
to
and
me.
bowl.
I was so confused.
And like,
They don't anymore because you've lost some of your thing. But when you would say, like, bowl, I'm like, ball. What?
yeah, or you didn't know if I was saying BALL, BULL, or BOWL.
I was like, let's take
It was
a
like
guess.
a process of trying to figure out what I was talking about. So I guess we can now move on to the beginning of December, by which time you were heavily pregnant.
Yeah.
And did it scare you to be giving birth to your first child, nevertheless, in a totally different country?
It wasn't scary, but I was like, I didn't know what the heck to expect. Being like alone, pretty much, no family, no, well, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
NHS was very different. They had midwives. We were not used to midwives over here. We used to gynecologists and what do you call those?
It's definitely
drinks or whatever. So it was all midwives, and we would have midwife appointments. And I'm like, well, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that was interesting, definitely. And the labor was a long one.
18 hours.
18 hours, and they induced you, and it messed a bunch of things up, which didn't.
That's a video in itself. Let's just say that.
It is.
I was not happy at all with the verse of the first one, and it ended up in an emergency C-section.
It did, which ultimately led to all the other ones being C-sections as well.
It didn't have to, but just to be on the safe side.
Yeah.
So, yeah, emergency C-section, but everybody was fine and healthy, and that's all that matters.
And then was our little girl born.
Oh, it'd be so cute.
And so, at that point, I was very, honestly, I'm just gonna come out and say
Put it out there.
I was very, very misled previously regarding my eye condition. And I knew that it could be passed on, and we knew, and...
I didn't.
You know, you didn't, and yeah, it got a little messy at that point. So we had to overcome all that, and for those who don't know, the eye condition is retinoblastoma, which is in the simplest
There's a
form.
video I did on one of those. You can watch in the link.
There is.
Card.
We can put a card, which I've now discovered is up there. Okay. And and a link in the description to that. But retinoblastoma, basically, in its simplest description, is cancer of the eye, and so it can be genetic or not.
You're supposed to be screened at birth, but due to the NHS not having appointments, which is another big difference between this country and that country. So
that could also be another topic on its own.
Let us know what kind of videos you want us to make, because I could make thousands of videos on each of these little topics. Yeah. So NHS
versus private healthcare. Now, I suppose we could have gone private healthcare because they did have private healthcare over there, but we didn't. We didn't have the. We wasn't in a financial situation to be able to afford that, nor did we think we would have to, honestly. But when it came down to the fact that we needed to have that...
If I would have known the severity of it, I think I would have done something or pushed for something else.
But it took...
But I had no clue.
It took how long?
4 months.
4 months to even get an initial
like
appointment.
Life-threatening for a baby who could have...
by which time... it had gotten to a severity where ultimately it led...
was 9 millimeters.
Yeah. Which doesn't sound very big, but in terms of tumors, that's big, and especially in that location. And once if it hits the optic nerve, then that's bad. It can travel down to your brain, and that's
pretty much it.
That's the end, basically. So that's how critical it is. So we eventually we had to travel to London, and that was kind of scary. So we, the first few months of her life, we were, trying to get used to having a baby.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I've wanted to be a mom since I was like little, and so finally I got to be a mom, but it wasn't at all what I wanted it to be. It was my baby is like really sick.
Yeah,
and that's not how I envisioned my first baby pregnancy and birth and months of life to be. I wanted a happy, healthy little baby, and it just didn't happen that way.
And so we got to eventually the appointment time, and we had to travel all the way down to London
on a train
for a specialist. And then that ultimately led to, again, we're not going to cover this in huge detail, but that ultimately led to lots of treatments of chemotherapy,
extensive
invasive. And then there was radiation, and then a nucleation. So Yeah.
Wow.
It was pretty intense, and that whole saga went on for a couple of years, right? And still does.
it still does.
Still has to go and get checkups and all that kind of stuff. But
anyway.
Yeah. Anyway,
That was a big event in this 4 years from 2006 to 2010, which shaped a lot of it. But
yes, it did. It shaped a lot of what happened, and along with that came a lot of stresses on the family, and my side of the family, because while I had that condition, back in the 80s, methods had changed quite considerably, and they didn't quite understand, because with chemotherapy and everything, it takes out your immune system, and so we basically was on lockdown. We chose that.
Yep. And it paid off.
And it paid off. There was a couple of close calls, but we basically locked down, and so we didn't accept visitors, only critical visitors. We tried to stay in as much as possible. We cleaned a lot
during certain times.
Yeah, during certain times. There were windows, basically.
Well, we still went to the beach.
We did. Which is another thing where we're going to move off of this now, because it's
the end.
The end. So if you like that video, I know.
You can watch more about that in other videos.
Yeah. And again, questions you want, ask, feel free. We are totally open to any questions. But the beach, we can talk about that.
We lived like a minute from the beach.
Yeah, we lived on a little town called Fleetwood in the northwest of England, and it's a peninsula. So three sides of it was surrounded by water.
Very good, you know your geography.
I do, and here's an interesting fact. Do you like facts?
Uh-huh.
Okay, Fleetwood is one of only 5 towns or places or cities or whatever, coastal venues, with 3 lighthouses in the entire world. Yep. It had one, that really tall one, and then that little one, and then there was one that was off the coast, which was slated to be demolished.
Oh.
And it was not functioning, but it still counts. So we used to go to the beach a lot. We could just walk there.
We did. But you know what's funny about these beaches is, here I was in Florida and stuff, we're thinking these big sandy beaches. Well, over there, the one we were living by was just all rocks.
Yeah.
All rocks.
And the sand
no
is...
castles. Couldn't make castles.
Well, yeah, you could.
I couldn't.
There was that little section of beach.
It was like all rocks.
Yeah,
and
it was very coarse sand.
The
very,
water
very coarse.
went out for like miles.
Yep.
When the tide goes out, it goes out a little bit. No, there was no water to be seen. It was gone.
Yeah, which led to a lot of problems for people. They would go out hiking across the plains, I guess they call it, sand plain. I don't know what they call it. Sandbars, I think they're called.
Yeah.
And they would get trapped, and so the lifeboat would have to go out. We've seen that lifeboat a bunch of times. But also, what about the big P&O boat, Stena Line ferry, that we used to go and watch a lot, and we'd walk up there. And this goes on to the summer nights. Remember when at 9 o'clock at night it would be just bright
so bright
light
outside. We'd be out playing.
And so we'd sometimes at night we'd walk up to the to where the ferry was, and we would to the dock, and you could get so close to it.
Yep.
And we would watch it leave.
At one point, we went on the bridge.
And
the trucks would drive under us.
Right. Yeah, there was a
on
footbridge.
And off the boat. It was weird.
Yeah, there was a footbridge, and we could go stand on that bridge, and that's how they were, because it was a passenger ferry and a cargo ferry at the same time, and it went to Ireland. And so they would load up this ferry with trucks, and we could a big semi 18-wheelers full of cargo, and we would just stand on this bridge looking down, watching all the trucks, and it was really cool. And so we did that a lot because that was pretty entertaining.
Yeah, we went to the park a lot.
We did go to the park
right by our house.
There was a place called the Mount, which, how would you describe that?
It's a really
It's this random hill. Like, this random hill
had a clock house.
And it had a clock on the top, and you could actually, on some days they would open it up and you could go in there and tour it, and it was a big old clock that you could go in there
that was really cool.
have a look around, and it would chime every quarter hour between 8 and 8, I think.
Yeah.
But sometimes it would get messed up and we'd hear it at like 2 in the morning, which was actually also kind of cool. But the grounds had lots of little gardens, and it had a big grassy slope, which we'll get to in a minute. And then in the, like, what would you call it? Like the cavern of the...
Yeah, it was like the
It's like a little
valley
area. There was like a dugout kind of area that was that had a playground, and it was really nice. And we would go there a lot, and often had it to ourselves. And so that was pretty awesome. And then the slopes were really cool, because there was this one time it snowed.
Oh yeah.
And we'd just like go sledding on it. In fact, like that's a thing. Like the whole town would turn out and like just, go sledding on this hill, which was really cool. And when we actually had we had a dog at one.
We did. It was a pure black lab. His name was Spike.
Yeah, he was crazy. He was crazy, and we took him on the mount in the snow, and also when it didn't snow, we took him there too, because it was a great place to throw his ball and run him around. And we took him on the beach, and he was a really cool dog, and yeah, we had him for quite some time. But then, do you remember going to pick him up
in a taxi?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, we found this ad I think we found it in the paper.
I wanted a dog so bad.
Yeah, and so we were like, hey, why not? We both wanted a dog,
We had like a 1-year-old. Sure, let's bring a puppy in.
Yeah, it was pretty smart of us to do that, right? Nothing goes wrong with puppies and 1-year-olds. So anyway, we saw this ad for somewhere pretty local that had these puppies for sale, and so I was like, hey, we'll just go and take a look. So
got a taxi.
went
and picked him out of a couple of dogs, and then we had to bring him home in the taxi.
In a taxi, yeah, that was crazy. That was fun. And then talk about the trams a little bit.
Oh, well, I guess it's not. But another thing that I liked living over there was transportation. Literally, there was a public bus and tram stop like outside of our door.
Yeah.
And so if we wanted to go somewhere, we wouldn't have to wait on someone to take us, or
yeah,
we could just jump on the tram and go.
But the whole country was pretty much well connected. You can get pretty much
this country
anywhere.
needs to get its act together when it comes to public transportation, because
another video.
Yeah, exactly.
Comparisons of transportation.
Because they know what they're doing, and it's great.
Yeah, everywhere is linked up. I mean, if it doesn't have a bus route or a tram route, there's a train, or the taxi services. There's tons of them over there. So pretty much everywhere is connected. And one thing we didn't talk about actually was right after our oldest was born, your parents came over.
Yeah, they did for 2 weeks, I think.
Yep. They were over for Christmas and New Year, I think, and then they left. But we hung out with them, which was fun. We just chilled out, and man, this is like all over the place. There's no timeline on this. It's just like as we remember stuff.
But that's fun.
Yeah, and so other things that we did over there were we went to visit some friends that we had in London, and so we'd go on the train, and that was fun.
That was
going on trains, and we also had to go to London a lot for eye appointments and stuff. So we'd do that, and those were long days. We'd leave really early in the morning, and sometimes get back after midnight. But we'd navigate around London, which was pretty crazy. And then your parents came over again.
Yep.
And we went to Liverpool for a little mini vacation. And that
was crazy.
That was fun.
It was really, really fun. We stayed in this like hotel.
It was like one of those old
It was like a really old building, but it had been done up really nice. And then we did various things around Liverpool, and one thing that I remember there's a couple of things that happened that were really funny that I remember in Liverpool. One of them was we went to a Burger King. I think it was it Burger King or McDonald's?
I don't remember.
It was a fast food place. Anyway, we went there, and the Liverpool accent is really hard to understand.
Mm-hmm.
And so they would be asking your parents, like, you know, like, you want fries with that? And they wouldn't have a clue. And it was all run together like this, and you couldn't understand what they were saying, and it'd be like really cool, and you know what I mean? And like everything would be like that.
You're like,
you didn't know what they were saying.
And then
so,
he'd be like, what'd she say?
Yeah, I'd be translating. So like, I felt like I was in a foreign country. It was so weird. Like,
he said, do you want fries with that? She says, yes, she does.
Yeah. It was hysterical. And then the other thing was we went to the Beatles museum, and we went around there and came out through the gift shop, and little Munchkin was in her stroller. And
what you have to do, you have to tell it, like, we had left the museum. We had gone, we're walking, like, we had got pretty far.
We had got pretty far.
And then something falls out of her stroller. And we're like, oh, somebody dropped something. What the heck? What is this?
It was a clock, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was an alarm
Beatles
clock.
alarm clock.
And we're like, oh, she stole.
Shoplifter!
She stole from the Beatles museum. And like, what are you going to do? Like, some people just like, oh, whatever. But no, my mom and I walked all the way back there with this clock and gave it back to them and said, our 2-year-old kind of stole this. And they're like, whatever. They didn't care.
Like,
they're like, oh, okay, thanks.
They were like, okay. Well, thank you. Like, you know, it was the weirdest thing to be bringing something back, you know. That was really funny.
So we did that.
We did.
And then, let's see. What happened next?
I don't know. I've got no
Well, then it was, let's go to the visa part.
Okay.
So when I got over there in 2006, I had a 2-year visa.
I think they called it a leave to remain.
Yeah, it was leave to remain, and I had that. And before 2 years were up, I had to get an indefinite leave to remain visa. So that required me to do more applications and more of this and more of this. And I also had to study.
You had to take the life in the UK test.
For a test. The same over here. You have to take a test for the US.
Dun, dun, dun. That's what I'm going to have to do.
Yeah. So I had to take a life in the UK test. So I had to study for that. And then we took a train.
We did.
We always take trains.
Yeah.
And we went.
I think it was Morecambe.
I don't know. It was up there.
Yeah. It was further up north, and we took a train.
And I took my test.
And I got out of the train station, and we just stood there waiting for a taxi. And this bike, you have to understand this. We are stood.
Our backs to a wall.
Up to a wall, like on the sidewalk, back to the wall, just leaning against the wall, and this bike's coming. And Lizzie's like, just looking, just watching it, and we're thinking, he's
gonna turn that way, right?
We're good. Slammed right into my knee. The dude fell off.
He fell off,
rolled, like.
He's like, sorry, man.
And then he just got up and went, sorry, and then just rode off.
He must have been like high or something.
Like we
were still like.
I didn't even know what to say after that. We were like, what? And then, then we went to the testing center, and you did your test.
And I passed.
And she passed and got issued a visa. And
not right there and then.
No, not right there.
I had to do some more stuff.
But you did pass.
Yes, I did. I got the visa.
And that was, again, if you watched our previous video, you'll know that... The first visa, in fact, all of them,
every single piece,
everything we have done, we have done ourselves. We have not hired any legal representatives, attorneys, or immigration specialists, anything like that. We have done it solely by ourselves.
Yep.
And so that's a big achievement to be proud of. So we're very proud of that. And do you remember the Lake District?
Yeah, then my mom came up by herself because my dad was doing something, and we took another vacation up to the Lake District, which is really nice. Like, it's like mountains and lakes and, oh my gosh. And we stayed in a trailer, I think it was. Is that what we call them? RV? Trailer? What was it?
Yeah, it's, I guess you could call it a trailer. I think they call them, like, static caravans. They're like just long trailers. They're not quite mobile homes because they have a trailer hitch and everything, but they're long. They're like 35 feet long by like 15 feet wide.
That was fun because we went out and did stuff. And
except the bathroom was hard to get into. Remember that?
You had to like literally back up into it.
Because it was so narrow. You couldn't even turn in there. It was crazy. But that was fun because we
had a really good time.
Yeah, that was real fun. We just hung out and we went to the swimming pool and we went to different places in the Lake District and looked around and yeah, that was really good fun. And then more things we did was the a little way down the coast from where we live was a place called Blackpool. Which is very famous. They are dubbing it the Las Vegas of England, and it has like a front waterfront strip of hotels and bars and casinos and amusement parks and we went to that once or twice, and we also went to the Sea Life Centre a couple of times,
and the tower,
and the Blackpool Tower, and we got pictures from the top of the tower. Looking out, which was really cool. And then every year they do this thing called the illuminations, where they put all these lights up along for a mile.
Crazy
it's called the
lights.
It's called the Golden Mile, and then they decorate their trams in different things and light them up and stuff. And it's free. And visitors to the place just come and look at them and get entertained.
And we go, ooh and ah.
Yeah, and they're really, really neat. So we did that, which was really good fun and really entertaining to look at.
Well, you forgot a lot of your family came up too.
Yeah, they did, actually. My mom and brother came from Australia. And yeah, that was fun. So we did lots of different things with them, and then at some point your parents came one more time, I think, right? Because we did that.
But I need to rewind for a second. Okay, so we lived in this house and it had a bright yellow door.
It did,
but
it was little.
It was little. It got too small, so we found a new one when my mom came over. Remember that?
Yeah.
We actually found this other one.
It was like three streets away.
It was very close. So we're like, yeah, let's get a house. So we got it. We ended up they letting us rent it out, and so we had to move house. Okay, you know where this is going, right?
Yeah, I know exactly where this is going.
We moved house. We didn't rent a truck. We didn't have a car. We used a shopping cart.
Yeah.
Yes, it's the new transport of moving shopping cart.
We had a full-size pool table. A full-size pool table.
That we had to move like 3 streets over, so...
Because I had it back before I met you.
Yeah.
And, yeah, so...
I think we put the dang thing in the buggy, and it was dark.
We put it on the buggy.
On the buggy.
But, yeah. And we moved basically the entire house that way. I think we did actually hire movers for the wash and dryer.
We did. The table, I think.
And a couple of like really heavy things.
Or something.
Yeah. Couches, I think, went that way as well.
But all our cool little stuff in boxes.
But the majority of everything we did. Yeah. And there's a really funny story about that. So between a lot of the streets over there were these alleyways that connected them. And so we were like, yeah, we'll just use these rather than going down the main, sidewalk or whatever, main street, you know. And one thing about them is they're all cobblestone, so they were so bumpy, and that was really hard. And then, like, I got to the front door of our new house. I'm almost there, not quite there, almost there, and there's this police car there, and I'm like, oh, cool, okay, you know. And anyway, the guy gets out, and he's like, excuse me. And he comes out. At first, I didn't really think he was talking to me. You know, as you do. You just don't. You don't, like, well, I'm not doing. Anyway, he was asking. I thought, eventually, I was like, when I realized he was talking to me, I was like, I guess it looks like I've stolen a bunch of stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, because you had I think you had this buggy full of, like, electronics. It
was electronics. I think I had, like, the TV and, like, video stuff and, like, I think I had speakers and, you know, all sorts of crazy stuff in there. And the guy's like, do you have permission to be using that trolley? Because they called them trolleys, you know. Do you have permission to be using that trolley? And I'm like, and we actually did.
Yeah, one time they did say we could take it.
Yeah. And I think that was the time. And it was actually pretty genuine because I think we did use it a couple of times and weren't supposed to. But on that occasion... It was, and I actually told them. I was like, yeah, you can go check. And like they didn't believe me. And all he was concerned about was, did I have permission to be using the trolley? You're going to put it back, right? Yeah, and he was like, you're going to put it back? I'm like, well, yeah, when we're done with it. And he was like, well, how long are you going to be using it for? Like, all these questions. So I didn't care what was in there. I thought that was...
I didn't care. You had like the whole $1,000, I don't know how much it was, electronics.
Yeah.
It's like, did you just
didn't even ask me what I was doing. That's what was weird about it. Like, he didn't say, like, you know, why are you doing this at all. Like, that was what was weird about it. That was
just put the buggy, that's all that matters. Put it back. Jeez.
And then I mean, we're leaving stuff out.
We are leaving stuff out. I mean, because this would just take all day.
It would, but I think we got a lot of the stuff. So we're like, now we are starting to realize at this point it's coming to the end of 2009, beginning of 2010.
I have to say, it was fun being a foreigner in a country because they're like, oh my God, are you American? I'm like, yeah. Oh, I love your accent. Oh, this and that. And they kept going on. Like, I was kind of famous. I don't know what I was trying to...
You sound Chinese.
Leave me alone. I don't know what I'm trying to do.
Wrong country.
No. You know, I can't do one of those. And so, like I was, you know, I felt kind of cool because everyone was asking me, are you American? Are you this? And, like, that's really cool. And
I got that a lot over here, too.
I had really, really long hair, and some people would just freak out about my hair. They're like,
yeah.
Oh, your hair is so beautiful. Are you American? All this stuff. I'm like, this is fun. But then it wasn't fun after a while.
We did mention earlier about the limo, and we didn't touch on that, and so we probably should really quick because you mentioned about IT. IT? Ice-T. Oh my gosh. This isn't good. You can tell we're...
Ice-T. So for our... What year was it?
I think it was our third.
We decided to do something, like, different, and we took a limo from our house to Blackpool.
Yeah, we went to a restaurant, a really nice restaurant in Blackpool.
Yeah, it was a limo.
It was.
That was like the first time I think I had been in a limo.
Yeah, and we stopped and took pictures in front of the limo and all that kind of stuff. And then we got to this restaurant and we ordered our food, and they're like, "What do you want to drink?" And you were like,
"Do you have iced tea?" She's like, no.
I think, like, she honestly though she reacted pretty quick. Like, instead of saying, no, we don't, she was like, we don't, but I can bring you a glass of ice and a pot of tea.
So she did, and I made my own, which, you know, that was cool. But that's what you had to do if you wanted iced tea.
Yeah, just don't have that over there.
Yeah, but it was good. I think, was it, I forgot what I had. I just remember it being good.
Yeah.
And the limo trip was fun, and all the crazy lights and the drinks and the...
Yeah. That was really good fun. And then, so, like I was saying before, we're starting to realize that some friends weren't really friends that we thought they were, and we would,
I miss my people back over here. I missed all my family, my friends,
And a big thing was you had a lot of family and friends, and I really didn't. Like, my family is so spread out as well, and, you know, I had a couple in the town that I lived in, but, you know, they were also very busy with their own lives and their own things, so I didn't really see them very often. And then, you know...
Plus, I had a really big music community over here.
Yeah.
And I used to play a lot. I know when we were over there, I played in some pubs a lot, but it was only a couple times.
Yeah.
I missed that, and it was just... It was a great experience, you know, and I'm very glad that we did it. You know, to say that...
Yeah.
I mean, how many people can say they've gone and lived in England for like 5 years? You know?
Yeah, exactly. I can.
Yeah, you can. But we just started to realize that, you know, we needed a change.
And so begins the research and preparation of me applying for various different things. And also we had to go through a whole another set of paperwork.
Yeah, because we had a little kid to deal with.
Yeah, to get her all set up. But actually, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be at all. Like, it was really easy. And she is now dual citizenship too. Yeah. So that is really cool. And so, yeah, and then we had to start looking into that. And so this is where we're probably going to cut this off right now, because the next one, part 4, is going to talk about all that and getting... because I had to do different things. Fun. Yeah, there's lots of... I'll give you a little teaser. My passport got lost or stolen.
Almost right before we were about to leave.
I know. That was crazy. We had to get an emergency replacement. We had to do the day thing. Get a passport in a day. Yeah. I had to travel all the way to Liverpool. And that's all I'm going to tell you. But yeah, there was lots of cool different experiences that I can share about that.
And moving back across the Atlantic.
Yeah.
How we did that.
How many people, I mean, other than, I mean, you can't count like military families in this because, you know, they move across oceans and stuff a lot, and it's just part of what they are, you know, signed up to do. But like just average, you know,
your average Joe
people on the street, like how many people can say that they have moved across the Atlantic twice?
I can.
Yep. It's really crazy just to look back at it all.
To believe that we did that, I mean, it's like, and we did it just us two. You know, I have to say we were a pretty good team. We can touch on that later.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you got to have some strong relationships and some strong connections in order to do something like that. Because it could be extremely stressful if you let it. Exactly.
So, key thing is you really got to work well together as a team.
Yeah, I mean, you do what you're strong at, and I do what when I do what I'm strong at, and then it's like a puzzle, and it fits together. And you pick my weaknesses, and I pick your weaknesses up, and you know, it's
balances
this perfect
out.
Little puzzle. So you need to figure out your puzzle to make things work.
Yeah. And I know for a fact that we are leaving a lot of stuff out.
We are.
And we may, if we feel that, you know, we need to go back over a few things, we might do that. But as of now, we are going to call it a day on this one. And if you have any questions, again, feel free to ask. If you want us to do any videos and any topics we've touched on in this video and just expand on them a little bit more, just let us know. We'd be more than happy to do that as well. And subscribe to the channel, add the playlist so that you can continue to receive the updates for future episodes of this particular series and all our other things that are going on too. You got anything else?
Nope. I don't.
Anything we might have forgotten that you think is really cool that we should have added that we didn't?
No.
Like carrying large objects on the trams?
Yeah, like vinyl, a whole roll of vinyl.
Whole roll of vinyl on a tram, which looks like a bus basically. So imagine carrying a whole roll of vinyl.
And shopping at Argos and like buying like.
Okay, I think you have to explain what Argos is real quick just before we go.
This is so long already.
Really,
it's
really
a
quick.
Store, and it's a catalog store, I think, right?
Yes.
And you can shop online and say, "Ooh, I want that," and then you have to go to the store and pick it up.
Yeah, there's like nothing in there, hardly anything in the front. There's a few little stands with things on it, but like you go in and you walk up and it goes, "Cashier number 4, please." And you walk up to it and you hand over your ticket.
To pick up my...
And they go and get it for you and they give it to you and you leave. Simple as that.
And so not having a car, we'd have to do that on a bus or a tram. And I'm like, I'm not going to have lack of transportation stop me from buying what I want to buy.
It's amazing though. Like they didn't care at all. Like
you remember we went on the tram with like a sand, like 50-pound bags of sand or something stupid, and tables and trampolines
and stereo
whatever.
systems. Like huge, like hi-fi systems, all sorts. Yeah, we did a lot.
We should do a video just on like stupid stuff we did.
Oh yeah, this is a good few stupid things coming up in part 4 actually. So stay tuned for that one. Look forward to it because there is some really dumb things that are very entertaining, and we actually have video clips to go along with them. And stuff too, so it's going to be entertaining. And yeah, thank you very much for watching. Bye.